So there's no fantastic story, it was, God told me it was time to leave. It's just that simple. And, chew the meat, spit out your bones. But in order for me to, be audaciously confident, I gotta, be honest about my faith. And so, after spending that long in television and God saying, I have more for you to do, it's time for you to walk away. It was hard. It was difficult. But it also was a no-brainer because if nothing else, I'm obedient. So I don't have a fantastic story that I was tired of my career and there was more for me and I was tired of going to work every day. No, that ain't my story. My story was I loved my career and he literally had to drag me out of my career to do the new thing that he was calling me to do. So sorry if it disappoints,
No,
y'all,
it doesn't disappoint.
I don't have a fantastic story about why I walked away from TV. On most days, I'm like, can I go back?
Can I go back yet?
Can I go back? So.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited for this episode of Leading with Audacious Confidence. And I know I get loud and I get a little obnoxious sometimes because my microphone is right here and I still scream like I'm speaking to a big audience of people. So I'm going to temper my voice a little bit, but the excitement is up here because I have with me today greatness in action. We were told last night, that is how we are to introduce you from now on. So I took notes, I wrote it down, and I have you here with me today.
We should probably, okay, wait a minute. We can't just leave it there. We got to explain that because they'll be like, well, who the heck she thinks she is?
Well, let me read why this is so. Because when you hear this incredible woman's bio, you will know how she is impacting the world and how she is leaving a legacy. So TJ Mercer is an award-winning TV editor, a 4-time author, international speaker, media coach, and storyteller. As the chief noisemaker of the Media Mavericks Academy, TJ uses her expertise as a 25-year Hollywood veteran to coach her Mavericks how to unapologetically rock their own genius on networks like ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CW, and on shows like The Steve Harvey Show, The Doctors, and Dr. Oz. TJ's Mavericks have also displayed authority on MSNBC, CNBC, The Washington Business Journal, The New York Times, The Huffington Post, Psychology Today, Working Women, Family Circle, Reader's Digest, hundreds of radio shows, podcasts, and a whole lot more. When I grow up, I want to be Miss TJ. TJ has produced projects for box office icons like Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish in Night School, as well as the billion-dollar behemoth Samuel L. Jackson in Shaft. Not to mention Shrek, Chronicles of Narnia, The Incredibles, Cars, Princess Diaries, Cinderella, and owns Emmy award-winning show Home Made Simple with Layla Ali. I'm not done yet. When the world shut down in the pandemic, a lot of us were trying to figure out what to do. Well, TJ revived a lifeless old game like Bingo and transformed it into a party right from the computer screen. What started off as a one night, 10 games, $100, and a few friends quickly exploded into a frenzy of fun among hundreds of players, young and old, earning her the new moniker, the Bingo Boss. Today, with a mission to make God smile and be somebody's answered prayer, TJ wakes up every day committed to love on God's kids by living up to her moniker, the world's greatest hugger. And now we have this new moniker, Greatness in Action. So welcome, Greatness in Action.
So the explanation, y'all, is I collect monikers. So somebody's always calling me something. So I have this running joke on Facebook that, every time somebody calls me something new, I'm like, okay, for the next 2 days, I am not going to answer to TJ. I'm going to answer two, and whatever it is. And so Alicia was on last night when somebody called me greatness in action. So that's not self-imposed. That is actually what people actually say about me. You gonna have these people thinking like, oh, she really feeling herself.
I know. Well, why? This is the audacious confidence broadcast, so why not be audacious and say I am greatness in action? But I really admire that you took the experience that you had working on as a producer in Hollywood and really turned it into something to really shine a light on other people, to help them elevate and explode in their own potential and their leadership. So what made that shift for you, leaving television?
It ain't deep, Alicia. I am unapologetically a Jesus freak. So there's no fantastic story, it was, God told me it was time to leave. It's just that simple. And, chew the meat, spit out your bones. But in order for me to, be audaciously confident, I gotta, be honest about my faith. And so, after spending that long in television and God saying, I have more for you to do, it's time for you to walk away. It was hard. It was difficult. But it also was a no-brainer because if nothing else, I'm obedient. So I don't have a fantastic story that I was tired of my career and there was more for me and I was tired of going to work every day. No, that ain't my story. My story was I loved my career and he literally had to drag me out of my career to do the new thing that he was calling me to do. So sorry if it disappoints,
No,
y'all,
it doesn't disappoint.
I don't have a fantastic story about why I walked away from TV. On most days, I'm like, can I go back?
Can I go back yet?
Can I go back? So, but I will say though that for, being a woman of faith, what was on the other side of my obedience was far surpassed what I could have imagined for myself. Wow. So I'm glad that I could have, because the other aspect of what wasn't in the bio is that bingo game turned into, I went to Howard University, which is the dopest HBCU, historically Black college and universities. Wakanda forever, Mr. Chad Boseman, may he rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
But what happened was out of that bingo, I ended up taking all my skills and producing an epic series of bingo for the 2020 grads of HBCUs. And we, in less than 4 weeks, Alicia, we raised over $1 million in cash and prizes.
Wow.
So when I say, what's on the other side of me being obedient, that's the kind of things that I'm having. And now this bingo boss lane I'm in is exploding. Like, can I just tell you something? I just got my first check that somebody's paying me to host a bingo game.
That's when you know you had nothing to do with that.
Today. And I'm like, somebody is really paying me
to play bingo
and play bingo. It's just like, wait, what? So, so me walking away, it was difficult, but on the other side of it was something it was
glory. There was glory on the side of it. And when you have to be obedient, when you're obedient to do that's what opens the doors for you. And we met actually on the set of, it was in CBS in
New Orleans.
New Orleans, CBS New Orleans. And you had just written a book and you were promoting your Media Mavericks. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we connected. And I've been getting your emails ever since. I've been watching you from, watching all your moves.
Thank you.
That's been about 5 years now, 4 or 5 years.
Yes, 5 years. We turned 5 years old this year.
Yay. So look how time flies. Yeah. And Media Mavericks has exploded. It really has. And how do you see this role of leaders really, how does getting on TV really help you in your leadership role?
Well, media in general positions you as an expert, but there's nothing like TV when you can put it on your website as seen on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. that automatically ups your credibility, the way people view you. Like, even, I don't necessarily have my bio read for the sake of impressing people.
No.
It
Yeah.
is for the sake of understanding who you have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already like, I come in knowing, once you hear my street cred, I come in already with your mind open to who I really am. So then when I'm coming to love on you, when I'm coming to pour on you, you can actually trust, oh, she, okay, so I need to really listen to what she has to say. That is the same thing no matter what lane you in. The minute you, a potential client, a potential customer goes to your website, Alicia, and sees that it's as seen on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, they up their, your credibility
has already increased.
Exactly. And so then if it comes down between you and your competitor that doesn't have that, who do you think they're going to be? The other thing, who that you think they're going to choose? The other thing is, my mantra for Media Mavericks Academy is, when you know you are the answer to someone's prayer, or you have the solution to someone's problem, you have a responsibility
Thank you.
to make some noise.
Yes.
So as a leader in your field, I'm not interested in you being the best kept secret. Who is that serving? It ain't about you, boo.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about you.
Get out there and make some noise about how you help people, especially in this pandemic.
Yes, I totally 100% agree with you, that it is our responsibility, because I also believe, and you tell me if you believe this too, that we have certain people that we have to impact. Like, we have been given a mission, and there are some people that I will impact that you may not come across you, but they're in my circle. They've been led into my circle for me to make an impact on them, for me to be an answer to their prayers, that they may never know who TJ Mercer is, but they know who I am.
Right.
And so I have a responsibility to those people to serve them in the way that they need to elevate themselves. So
absolutely, I 100% agree with that, because what I know for sure, and what I'm only concerned about, is loving the people that God assigns to me. I'm not concerned about nobody else's people.
Right, exactly.
The people who follow me are into all of this extra that I give. My mother can't stand listening to me. And she has told me flat out, you get on my nerves. You're excited about everything. I ain't for my mother, but for the fact that I'm a kid and she let me post up in her uterus for 9 months.
I know.
No, me and my mother are just like that.
Yeah, no, we know.
But she can't take all of this.
Sometimes my kids tell me I'm too much. They're like, you're just too much, Mom. You're too much.
And for me, I know that the people who God wants me to serve are coming into my orbit. They're drawn to me. They
get it.
Joy off of having me on their news feed, because I'm a nut, hey, I'm a nut. I'm gonna just tell you, if you follow me on social media, I'm full of shenanigans. So the people who stay around, they look forward to my shenanigans. So I'm not really interested in people that I'm not called to serve. I ain't got time for that. Yeah. I got enough on my plate trying to serve the people that really
that you're already called to. I don't need to be trying to. I totally agree with that and totally believe that. So that this idea of competition between us, because I'm taking from you, it's like, no, I can't take from you, because you have who you need to serve, and I have who I need to serve, and there's no kind of competition within that, because people who love you might not even stand me.
And vice
versa. And vice versa. Right. So this idea that leadership we have to be this one size fits all kind of leadership. I was actually talking to someone the other day about that doesn't ring true either. Like, there are so many different types of leaders and so many different ways that people influence others. What is your biggest that you would say would have been your biggest mistake when stepping into a leadership role? And did it affect your confidence, and how did you recover from that?
I don't make mistakes. I'm perfect. So let's just start there. But okay, so in order for me to answer it, I just got to give you the real. I never wanted to be nobody's leader. I still don't want to be anybody's leader. I'm not that chick. When I was working in Hollywood, I loved being on a team. I loved not having the buck stopping with me. And so leadership, and I always think about one person who came to mind. Her name is Julia Winston. When I first started doing lives on Periscope back in the day.
Oh, Periscope's still doing lives?
Yeah,
I know.
Live, but when I first started it, I would have people, talk about me being a leader. It's like, oh no, no. You can't define me as a leader. I'm just TJ that has, people that like rocking with me, but we all on the same. And it took years for people constantly, and me realizing I have influence. So there's a responsibility that comes along with that influence. And if I have influence, that means that people are looking to me for leadership. Now, I just fully embrace that I am a leader probably at the top of this year, 2020, because God gave me my life assignment, and it's something that I do want to lead. I do want to do it. And so what that taught me is that all of these other years, there was nothing that I was so passionate about that I wanted to take point, that I wanted to implement this. I wanted to innovate this. And so I am the proud leader of, this thing that God is having me build. Now, with all of that said, to your point, or to your question of mistakes, it's hard for me to even say I've made mistakes, because I just they're lessons. Okay, I didn't get that right. We're going to get this. We're going to pivot and do this, and we're going to pivot and do that. And so I honestly, right now, can't think of any mistake, because I feel like a mistake is something you don't recover from, necessarily. It's like I've recovered from everything and learned from it. So nothing stands out as that thing that, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Right.
It's growing pains, it's growth. So I can't say it's a mistake. It's just,
I love that answer. Yeah, because we build from one thing onto the next. We just keep building on the lessons that are learned from things. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work. Well, we figured out how it didn't work, and we're going to tackle it from the other side.
And it's growth. I mean, it comes along with the job. It's growth of, okay, here you have a person, she didn't want to be a leader, and now she's a leader. So, okay, maybe she hasn't been I haven't been a leader long enough to have, say that I made mistakes. I'm sure, that, but for me, it's just all been, oh, okay, so that's how you do that. Oh, okay, I'll know that for next time. Because even with the bingo, I was the bingo boss. I was the leader, and I had no problem, Alicia, telling him, because we did this thing in less than 4 weeks. So there was not a lot of time. And just to give you perspective, I ended up taking on that like I produced a live TV show. So the first Saturday we played for 4 hours. The next Saturday we played for 6 hours. The third Saturday we played for 7 hours. And the final night, the finale, we played for 9 hours straight. Wow. And that included celebrity pop-ins, all other kind of games in between the bingo games. So it was all of these moving parts that I had never done before. So when my bingo squad, I told them up front, if y'all are volunteering, you need to understand, I've never done something of this magnitude. So if you're the type that's going to need to know the plan, I don't have
every detail. We don't have that.
This ain't the ride you want to be on. This is a plane that it's taking off, and we're going to keep building the plane as we fly it.
Like so Madagascar.
Exactly.
You're in
so at some point,
monkeys on Madagascar.
And I told them on the first meeting, at some point, I'm going to have to look behind me and go, yo, who got the wheel? Because it's time to land. Anybody got the wing flap? Because we got to land this thing. And that's what, that's how I approached it. And did we learn things? Yes. Did we things that didn't go how we thought they were going to go? Yeah. But I just never looked at it. It was a mistake. It was like, okay, that didn't work. So we ain't going to do that next week.
Yeah.
So that's just has been my approach. Maybe that's just me being naive, but that has been my approach.
No, it's and it is working, and it is exploding, and it's blessing so many people. Did you always have this real sense of confidence that you approach life with?
Yes and no. I've always been confident in the God in me, not in the skills that I have. Everybody has those moments where you feel like an imposter, like they're going to find out. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like I just took this show and they're going to find out. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'm going to keep showing up every day and I'm going to smile and love on people and maybe that'll convince them. I don't know. But it was a growing process. It has been this growth. Like I remember I had been an editor for so long and someone came to me with an opportunity to be the behind the scenes producer for Night School with Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. And I was like, you want me? Like, yes, we want you. And I'm like, but why? So I'm on set going, these people going to think about, I don't know what the heck
I'm doing.
What in the world were we thinking? And then after that, I guess I did a good enough job that Warner Brothers tapped me and were like, okay, so we want you to live in Atlanta for 2.5 months. Because we want you on Shaft with Sam Jackson. I'm like, why? What? You want me? So then, but by the time I finished, my confidence had grown and I learned it, and all of those skills are now being translated to what we're building with the Bingo Boss. So it's one of those things that but I've always been confident if God assigned me, he thinks I'm qualified.
Yes.
I don't buy into that phrase of God calls, he doesn't call the he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call. I don't buy into that. It's for me, God, I was born qualified. Because
I believe he equips you. Doesn't the word say that too?
He takes me through the journey for me to get the tools to live up to the qualifications. But I had to just grow into this. I was born to be who I am. Yeah. I was born to be this. I just had to go through the journey and get the skill set to get to this point.
Yeah. Oh, that is so awesome. And I heard that you're going to be speaking on the TED stage coming up tomorrow. Well, this podcast is going to be after the TED Talk, but yeah, what is your topic of discussion on the podcast, on the TED Talk?
That's the name of the talk, and the subtitle is Use What's in Your Hand. Use what's in your hand.
Say it again because your mic went down as you were clapping.
So it's called That's a Good Bingo. Use what's in your hand.
Ooh, that's a good bingo. Use what's in your hand. And the whole idea behind that is using the gifts.
Yeah. So when the pandemic started, the first thing I did, I saw that parents were freaking out because remember, all of a sudden schools are closing and parents are freaking out. And so I went to God. It's like, okay, God, I don't know what I should be praying for, but I do know, can you use me to help them? Show me, is there anything that I can do? And the first thing he told me was, I need you to read to kids. So I started story time with Auntie TJ, where I went live every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I sat there for a half hour, 45 minutes and entertained kids, to give the parents a break. And so, and I called the kids my crumb snatchers. Come to find out, I had as many adult crumb snatchers tuning in every day as I had the kiddos. And Lord have mercy, Jesus, y'all should go find somewhere where my first day, nobody didn't tell me, Alicia, that you should not start out doing story time trying to read Dr. Seuss's Fox in Socks out loud. Like, that's something you need to work your way up to.
Practice that one.
You need to practice that out loud, because I had gone over it in my head, but I read it live for the first time when I went live. And Lord Jesus, that thing was hysterical. But they kept coming back. So I guess it was okay. But but it was just like, what? Dr. Seuss is high. Like,
He
what?
was.
Thinking?
I think he was when he was writing most of his.
Right. It was like Dr. Seuss was high. So for me, that's the shape of the TED Talk, of the things that I created and helping people to see. I wasn't looking outside of myself. I wasn't outside, feeding the homeless or the frontliners. That ain't what I'm called to do. But I am called to sit behind a computer and entertain parents who are stressed out. And I would get so many lovely pictures of the parents telling me I was able to go take a shower for that half an hour, because I know they are glued to the screen with you. Like, they not distracted. They are glued.
They are watching you.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So it's like, I could, make that, less than, but when, because I'm not, curing cancer, and I don't have a cure.
Yeah, you're not.
But
you are on the front lines, though, because you're helping.
I'm doing something.
You're doing
help.
Your part.
Exactly.
And I firmly believe, and that's leadership too, because I firmly believe that we're not all called to do everything, and we have to find our very specific niche in what we do. And just like you, but we recorded it. I didn't do live. We pre-recorded story time for our kids at church, because they weren't coming to church anymore. In fact, I just this past week read 4 books that we're making videos for the kids.
Okay.
So we did a live story time. We've been doing lessons, and so I go in there and I do the lessons and I read, and they put it up on YouTube for the kids. And that's part of my contribution. Yeah. And so you find your place in what you're doing. Just like you said, what do I have? Look inside yourself, and then ask God, how can we use this? How can I turn this into a benefit for someone else?
Yep.
And that is incredible. Yeah. So, I also started Small Business Saturday shout outs for small businesses, because if they're struggling, come get a shout out, talk about your business, and then use that to promote yourself, So everyone has something.
Yeah.
So discover what your thing is.
In your hand.
Use what's in your hands. And so I love that, you're confident in the God in you, not always in what you have to do. Because a lot of times we don't have that. Like, my story was, I wasn't confident in me, and I wasn't, because I found the Lord in my late 20s, but all before then I was not confident in myself or in Him who was in me. And that has changed a lot. So working on movies and television and everything, how has your experience, because now with Ellen going through what they went through, have you had any of that kind of experience behind the scenes, where it's been a toxic work environment, or you've been blessed to be in really great working environments?
If I've been in and I mentioned this briefly, because what's the latest that's come out? Oh, TMZ. The TMZ show is the latest that has come out, where it's a toxic work environment. And I posted that I had 2 executive producers in my 25 years that tried that yelling thing with me one time. That's all it took. I shut that down. So if I've been in a toxic work environment, I didn't realize it, because I'm also the type, I was in Hollywood, but I wasn't of Hollywood. Like, people would come into my edit bay to escape what was going on around, because my edit bay was zen, and I'm the type of person that just draws people to me to the point, like, okay, you got to go because I got work to do.
Yeah.
But I stayed out of that kind of madness. So I could have been in a toxic work environment, but just oblivious to it, because I don't allow that kind of flow around me. So when the toxic people would come into my room, they knew how I got down. They knew, and so I can't say I've experienced that I will say that the only time I've ever experienced having to deal with the N-word was on a show that was under the umbrella of our current president. Now, what does that tell you? So in 25 years, that is the only time I had to attack dealing with the N-word, and it was on the show.
Interesting, interesting.
But so talk about that. No, I haven't had things where I can say I've been in a toxic work environment.
Yeah. I know your passion is really storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you were an editor, to kind of edit?
Oh, girl, I've been telling stories since I was a little, like, my stories be so good that people be like, okay, now, Master, my mother, is she telling the truth? But yeah, it was a natural, it doesn't surprise anybody who's known me, since I was a kid, that, Hollywood was my career of choice. And, I was having a conversation with my best friend the other day, and I was just thankful, like, I'm a little country girl from Jackson, Tennessee, and I get to say that millions of people have watched my stories in some shape, form, or fashion, whether they watch my shows or whether they watch me live, they watch me on TV, whether they watch me on stage. I make a living running my mouth and telling stories. And so it was a natural progression to come out of Hollywood and then, be a speaker. And then now I have what I call the League of Extraordinary Storytellers, where it's a program where I teach people how to deliver their keynotes, how to deliver their stories. Because that you want to see me get really excited is you just let me sit in a chair and coach people on telling their stories. So it was just a natural progression that, he took me from being a kid that I was always telling stories to getting paid to telling stories in television for 25 years. And then now I tell stories live and from the stage. So I got nothing to complain about. Life is good.
Life is good. You said something last night about how when people, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly, your audience, was it you or one of the other ladies that was there, your audience really tells you what it is they need from you.
Oh yeah.
And I've had a lot of people since I've been on CBS, NBC, ABC, I've been doing that work, appearing on TV, have been asking me about it. So, like coaching them into that now is something that I'm moving into, because they keep asking. Like, I keep running away from it because my own insecurity was, well, I haven't been in television my whole career. I don't know the back workings of, but they're like, but you've done it. So you can teach us how to do it because you've done it, So that
both of my key brands, the Media Mavericks Academy, it was started because somebody told me this is what you're going to start teaching people. And she was like, I'm getting ready to go on Facebook right now and I'm going to tell people you're coming out with this wonderful program of showing people how to get on TV. And so she did it. So I was like, I can't make my girl a lie. So that's how the first one started, because she told me this is what people want to do, want from me. So then the League of Extraordinary Storytellers started because I was doing a TV show with a bunch of ladies who were telling their stories. And because they had such powerful stories, the gift in me, I was like, do you mind if I give you feedback or coach, and then what had happened, so that was the second time, but the first time was I was on a program with Cookie Johnson. We were both speaking at the same live event. Magic Johnson's wife, she had just come out with the book of telling, their story. And I'm sitting there, I was the closing speaker, and I'm listening to her tell this story. And I'm rocking in my seat going, this could be so much more powerful. Oh my God, if she just did this and she did this and this. And
like you're reconstructing her whole speech while she's saying it.
While she's talking. And so fortunately, she didn't bounce. So she heard me speak because, like I said, I was the closer. And afterwards, she came to me and asked me, do you coach people on how to tell their story? Because I need help. And I think you're the person to do it. And she was my first client in the storytelling realm. And then when I did that TV show with those young ladies, they cornered me. I am not exaggerating for sake of story. They will tell you, they cornered me and was like, we need you to figure out how we can come to LA and spend 3 days with you, and you tell us how to tell our stories.
Wow.
By the end of that weekend, because it was a weekend with them, I had actually created, and they had paid their money, not, a four-digit investment. They had paid their money to then come to LA, because that was when I was living in LA, come to LA and coach with me. So yes, for me, I'm a big believer of listen to the people you're called to serve, because they will tell you
what it is they need
from you.
And I believe God puts you in certain places so you can learn what it is you need to learn, like back to what you were saying before, so that you can teach it when they're ready for it. Because I didn't go on TV with any intention of ever teaching anybody how to do it. But that's what people started asking me. And I kept saying, no, that's not what I do. That's not what I do. And they kept coming back. I'm like, and I pushed it and they kept coming back. So I am working on answering that call, because it's like, what else I gotta do? They keep asking me. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to push them in other directions and they keep coming back to me. So that's why I firmly believe that there are certain people that you are called to serve. And no matter how much you run away from them, I'm like Nineveh. I'm like Jonah and Nineveh. The whale is going to get you.
I'm still coming back to you though. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The whale's coming to get you and will spit you back out right there where you need to be. Right. Oh, that is, yeah. So you just, like last night when you were talking about that, you just confirmed. I'm like, okay, I gotta, people keep asking me for that. So I gotta figure it out. So, the next thing, so the Storytellers Academy, what is it called?
League of Extraordinary
Storytellers. So if you want to get coached in how to tell your story, especially leaders, people who are influencers and thought leaders, you need to connect with Auntie TJ. If you resonate with her and her excitement, and you want to be that storyteller that really engages and impacts people, I'm going to put her contact information definitely in the show notes so you can check her out. What would be your advice? Because you're, like you said, you're new to this whole leadership thing, because it's something that you've not really associated yourself with. But what would you can say
it? I resisted.
You resisted it. What would be your advice to the next generation or the younger generation that about leadership and really stepping into that for themselves?
Don't overthink it, and realize that it ain't about you. Like the bottom line for me is always, I wake up, and the people who have followed me for years, they know I mean this. I wake up every day asking God how to be a SAP, somebody's answered prayer. The way I show up to do that changes. I show up sometimes as the Media Maverick. I show up sometimes as the head of the League of Extraordinary Storytellers. I show up as the bingo boss. I show up as the Bible storyteller. For the month of August, I went live every day teaching God's word every single day for an hour and 15. I was studying 6 and 7 hours a day of God's word. So for that season, God used me to be a answered prayer for that particular segment of people. But it doesn't change that my whole purpose is to love on God's kids. Mm-hmm. That is the purpose for my life. Love on my kids, TeeJ. Right. So whatever that requires, if it requires me to be a leader, that's what I'm doing. I'm not overthinking it, because if nothing else, like I said before, I am obedient. So if it requires me to be a leader, to step out, that's what I'm going to do, because at the end of the day, it ain't about me, boo. It's just, it ain't about me.
I love that. I love you so much, TeeJ.
Love you too.
I do. So now that you're stepping into all this greatness, back to greatness in action. Greatness in action. I know that you really don't have like the next plan, like what is the next big thing. It just like evolves out of you.
God God loves, I am a big proponent of surprises. That's why the bingo game was so epic, because I love surprising people. But that comes from because my daddy, God, loves surprising me.
Mm-hmm.
So like any given day, he'll send a text that just changed the game for me. He'll have, like, I got a text yesterday that I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay.
All right.
So I can't say what I think is happening, because he moved me from LA to Atlanta to produce and host the TV show for HBCU students.
Mm-hmm.
So when the pandemic, because I got here and a week later we had the pandemic and the world
The
stopped.
lockdown, right?
So that's what caused the pivot. But what he began to show me is like, but the plan hadn't changed, baby. It's the method of how I'm getting you there. And so I do know that my next has to do with HBCU. And expanding the HBCU Bingo. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting with a TV network to talk about how that expansion can perhaps look. But as far as going in with the plan of saying, okay, I want this to happen, I want this to happen, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, that ain't never
just
been
an open vessel.
Yeah, that has never been how, I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak for, that has never been how God gets down with his TJ. It's like he'll open a door and say, okay, now walk through this door. Or then he'll close a door and say, stay here in the hallway. I need to speak with you. I need to get to your heart. There's some things I need to purge in you. There's some things I need to prune in you. So I need you to stay in the hallway. And when the time is right, and when I feel like you're ready for the next opportunity, then I'm gonna open that door and you're gonna walk through that.
Oh,
I know, people talk about a life plan. I ain't got a life plan. I really don't. It's just, God, what we doing?
You're an open vessel. Just use me. That's you.
Yeah,
you're an open vessel. Yeah.
That really is how I get down.
That's beautiful. Oh, wonderful. I can sit here all day and talk to you, but we don't have all day.
I got some bingo to go playing.
We got to go play some bingo, and I'm going to let you play some bingo. What do you have any advice or last words for anyone who might be struggling with their confidence a little bit and needs that extra, what do you say, B12 shot to get them?
For me, I teach my people all the time, start. And START is an acronym. Stop talking and roll tenaciously. You can sit there and plan your way and strategize your way out of just starting, because you need perfection. You need to know what's going to happen if this happens. What's going to happen if that happens. And meanwhile, while you're second guessing yourself, people are hurting. People are hurting because you're withholding their solution, because you're too busy trying to make sure you cross every T and dot every I. Now, am I saying don't operate with excellence? No, but operate with excellence without perfection.
Because a lot of people start taking courses and classes and even to get on TV and never pull the trigger and actually get there.
I get that all the time. Yeah, I get that all the time.
They stop.
You saw, I think, where you were on when somebody asked yesterday, and it's like, so should I go now and go back through the program? Yeah, you've been having it. You ain't used it.
Yeah. And I was listening to her and I'm like, oh my God, this time is your time to shine. You can speak on so many levels of what's happening with the police shootings, with hello. No, I was sitting. I was off camera, but I was sitting, listening.
I give people grace, though, of knowing that God will get them there when the time is right. They'll get there when the time is right.
Yeah.
I have people all the time going, I don't want to do media, but God told me I'm supposed to be around you. So I'm just going to enroll in your program so I can just stay around you and show up when you do Q&As. And I legit have several people who have done that, And so then, 3 years later, they finally start doing their first Facebook Live. However you get there to do God's will for your life is totally fine with me.
You can hang around. We keep you around. Okay. Well, good luck tomorrow. I know you don't need the luck. I know you don't need it because you're going to completely blow everybody away with your TED Talk. I can't wait to see it, to experience it, I should say, because I know it's going to be an experience when it goes live. So shoot that link and I'll add it to this when this airs as well. add that link to your TED Talk so people can enjoy that as well. And thank you so much for making the time to be here with me and sharing your audaciously confident self with us.
Thank you for letting me come play.
Yes. All right. So take care, TJ. Mwah. Love you, girl.
Bye, everybody.
Audacious confidence is the unshakable belief in yourself that's so brave and so bold that you step into what's possible despite your feelings, fears, or failures. I encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this out with your friends. To check out more episodes of this podcast, visit our blog, aliciacurry.com/podcast. This is Alicia Curry inviting you to lead your life, your teams, and your organization with audacious confidence. Until next time.